The Young and the Restless, a shocking revelation and a battle for truth in the world of The Young and the Restless. Secrets are always lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to shatter the lives of its characters in the most devastating of ways. For Clare, her world was about to crumble when she uncovered a truth that threatened to undo everything she thought she knew about her family. As tensions mount, Victoria's life, already teetering on the edge, is about to face a revelation that will rock her to her core. The discovery that Victoria and Cole were not her biological parents was only the beginning of a storm that no one could have foreseen. It had all started innocently enough, or so it seemed. Clare had always felt an odd sense of unease around the details of her upbringing. There had always been whispers, vague comments that she'd brushed aside, convinced they were nothing more than idle gossip. But when Clare began digging into her past, she inadvertently uncovered something that would change everything. A carefully concealed secret, hidden away by the very people she trusted most, was about to surface with the force of a hurricane. One evening, as Clare scoured old family records in a desperate search for answers, she stumbled upon a birth certificate that sent a chill down her spine. The name on the document was hers, but the names of her biological parents were entirely different. Shocked and disoriented, Clare spent the next few days piecing together the fragments of a life she never knew existed. What had her parents been hiding? Why had they kept this monumental secret from her? It all became clear as she dug deeper. Victoria and Cole were not her real parents. The revelation hit Clare like a freight train, shattering her sense of identity and leaving her reeling. Her mind raced, flooded with questions and doubts. How long had they known the truth? What had led them to keep the secret for so long? The betrayal was so complete, so devastating, that it felt like everything she'd ever known had been a lie. She was determined to confront Victoria and Cole, but she wasn't prepared for the consequences that would follow. As Clare stewed in her newfound knowledge, she decided to confide in Nick, the only person she felt she could trust. She knew that Victoria, the woman she had once considered a mother, had always been there for her, supportive, loving, and protective. But this truth, it was too much to bear. Clare feared that confronting Victoria would destroy their relationship forever. But she had to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. At the same time, Victoria was dealing with her own turmoil. For months now, she had been feeling something gnawing at her, an undeniable sense that there was something wrong. It wasn't just the stress of her relationship with Cole, or the challenges that came with managing the family business, it was something deeper. Victoria's instincts told her that a storm was coming, one she wasn't prepared for. One evening, she found herself confiding in Nick, her brother, about the weight on her shoulders. "I just don't know what's happening anymore, Nick," she said, her voice tinged with frustration. "Everything feels off. Like something is out of place in my life, and I can't figure out what it is." Nick listened carefully, offering his support, but he, too, had a sense of foreboding. He could see how much this was weighing on Victoria, how much she longed for peace, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something darker was looming on the horizon. Little did they know, Clare was about to turn their world upside down with the revelation she had uncovered. The confrontation came suddenly, when Clare stormed into Victoria and Cole's home one evening, her face flushed with anger and confusion. She threw the birth certificate onto the coffee table, her voice shaking with disbelief. "What is this?" she demanded, her eyes wide with hurt and betrayal. "Why did you keep this from me? Why did you lie to me my entire life?" Victoria and Cole exchanged an uneasy glance, the weight of their secret now pressing down on them. They had hoped that this day would never come, that they could continue to shield Clare from the truth. But it was too late. The truth was out, and there was no escaping it. Victoria, her face pale, struggled to find the words. "Clare, we never wanted you to find out this way. We did what we thought was best for you. We were trying to protect you," she said, her voice breaking with emotion. "You are our daughter, no matter what the papers say." But Clare wasn't convinced. "Protect me? By lying to me for my entire life? How could you think that was protecting me?" Her voice rose with each word, the anger and pain coursing through her. You're not my real parents. And now I don't know who I am anymore. Victoria reached out to her, her eyes pleading for understanding. Claire, please understand, we love you. You are our daughter in every way that matters. We didn't want to hurt you. We wanted to give you the best life we could. But the damage had already been done. Claire felt betrayed to her very core, unsure of what to believe anymore. The woman she had called mother her whole life wasn't her mother at all. The sense of security that had once existed between them had evaporated, leaving nothing but a gaping void. Claire's world was no longer the same. The days following the revelation were a blur of emotional turmoil. Claire couldn't bring herself to look at Victoria and Cole without feeling a sense of disgust. How could they have done this to her? And what did it all mean for the future of their family? As the shock settled in, the true weight of the situation began to sink in. Claire had no idea who her real parents were, and neither did anyone else. Victoria, meanwhile, struggled with the aftermath of the revelation. She knew that Claire was hurt, but she also knew that this was a turning point in their relationship. Could Claire ever forgive her for hiding the truth? Could Victoria come to terms with the fact that she was never really Claire's biological mother? The questions were endless, and for the first time, Victoria found herself questioning everything about her life. In the coming weeks, the fallout from Claire's discovery would reach far beyond the walls of Victoria and Cole's home. Family secrets that had been buried for years would be dragged into the light, forcing everyone involved to confront the consequences of their actions. Victoria's once stable world was beginning to unravel, and there was no telling where the fallout would end. But one thing was certain, the truth had come to light, and it was more devastating than anyone could have imagined. Now, as Claire and Victoria grapple with their new reality, they must face the hardest decision of all. Can they rebuild their relationship, or is this the end of a mother-daughter bond that was built on lies? As the story unfolds, viewers will be on the edge of their seats, wondering how these characters will navigate the wreckage of their relationships and whether they can ever heal from the shocking truths that have been uncovered. One thing is clear, no one will leave this battle unscathed. In the world of the young and the restless, secrets, lies, and hidden agendas are the driving forces that shape the lives of its characters. As the characters struggle to hold on to their carefully constructed lives, shocking truths threaten to tear everything apart. This is especially true for Victoria, whose life is about to take an unexpected turn when she confronts a devastating truth about her own family, all while grappling with a health crisis that is spiraling out of control. It all begins with Claire, a young woman who, until now, had been living a life she thought was secure, surrounded by the comfort of a family she trusted. But as she begins to piece together her past, Claire uncovers a truth that shakes her to the core: Victoria and Cole are not her biological parents. This shocking discovery sends Claire on a quest to expose the hidden reality and, in the process, threatens to unravel the lives of those around her. As Claire finds herself struggling with the truth, Victoria's life takes an unexpected and dire turn. The revelation, a family's foundation, crumbles. Claire had always suspected there was something odd about her past, but she never expected to find the truth in the way she did. As she began to dig into her family's history, she uncovered something that left her reeling: a birth certificate that told a different story. A story where Victoria and Cole were not her biological parents. The implications of this discovery were vast and earth-shattering. What had they been hiding, and why? Was Claire just a pawn in some game they had been playing? Fueled by the overwhelming need to know the truth, Claire confronted Victoria and Cole, demanding answers. The tension was palpable as Victoria, typically so composed, struggled to explain the unexplainable. The truth, as it turned out, was far more complicated than anyone had imagined, and it was one that had been buried for far too long. As Claire's emotions ran high, she made it her mission to expose the truth. But what she didn't anticipate was the tidal wave of consequences that would follow. The family dynamic, once built on trust and love, was now in tatters. Claire's world was no longer the safe and comforting place it had once been. Victoria's struggle. A mother torn between truth and loyalty. While Claire wrestled with her newfound reality, Victoria found herself dealing with her own set of challenges. The weight of Claire's revelation was not something she could easily shake off. As a mother, Victoria had always believed in protecting her family, her children and her husband. But now, she was faced with the undeniable fact that her relationship with Clare, the daughter she had raised, was now built on a lie. Victoria's mind raced as she tried to come to terms with the consequences of the truth. Would Clare ever forgive her? How could she face her family after all these years of deception? In her quiet moments, Victoria turned to her brother Nick, seeking comfort and advice as she navigated the emotional turmoil that consumed her. One evening, while sitting in the quiet of the living room, Victoria finally confessed her fears to Nick. "Nick, I don't know how to deal with this. Clare. She's devastated. I don't know how to fix this. How do I make it right when everything's already fallen apart?" Her voice quivered, a rare crack in the otherwise composed facade Victoria was known for. Nick, ever the supportive brother, listened with a mix of concern and understanding. "Victoria, you did what you thought was best. But now, the truth is out, and there's no turning back. You need to focus on healing. Not just Clare, but you too. This is going to take time." But Victoria's worries didn't stop with Clare's emotional turmoil. She found herself caught between the past and the present, unable to escape the weight of the situation. The strain of Cole's health crisis amidst the emotional chaos, Victoria was also facing a more immediate and urgent issue, the health crisis of her husband, Cole. Over the past few weeks, Cole's condition had been deteriorating, and Victoria had grown increasingly concerned. Despite their best efforts to remain optimistic, the tests were showing troubling signs. The doctors had been vague, their words carefully measured, but Victoria couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. As Cole's health continued to decline, the tension in Victoria's life reached its peak. The fear and uncertainty surrounding Cole's condition were enough to make anyone crumble, but for Victoria, it was a constant battle to stay strong for both her family and herself. She found herself waiting anxiously for the results of the latest tests, knowing that the answer could change everything. "Nick, I'm scared," Victoria admitted one evening, her voice barely above a whisper. "The doctors are taking so long with the test results. I know they're concerned, and I can't help but think the worst. What if Cole doesn't make it through this? What if I lose him?" Her words hung heavy in the air, the vulnerability in her tone something Victoria rarely showed. Nick, sensing her distress, offered his support. "You're not alone in this, Victoria. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. You have to trust that everything will work out the way it's meant to." But as the days passed, the results of Cole's tests were delayed again and again, heightening the uncertainty that already clouded their lives. The strain was taking its toll on Victoria, and as she waited for the news, the weight of the truth about Clare was always there, lurking in the background, amplifying her stress. A future in flux, what's next for Victoria and Clare? As the plot continued to unfold, the stakes only grew higher. For Clare, the truth had changed everything. She was no longer the daughter she had thought she was, and the people she had trusted most had betrayed her in a way she couldn't have imagined. For Victoria, the question remained, could she accept the consequences of the lies that had been told? Could she rebuild her relationship with Clare, or would the damage be too much to overcome? At the same time, Cole's health remained a constant source of anxiety. Would the doctors finally reveal the truth about his condition? And if they did, would it bring an end to the life Victoria had known? The coming days would reveal the answers, but one thing was certain. Victoria's life, once so stable and secure, was now anything but. As secrets continued to emerge and health crises loomed, the future seemed more uncertain than ever. As Victoria faced the challenges of her family and her marriage, she was forced to confront her own vulnerabilities. She had always prided herself on being strong, but now, as the weight of these revelations pressed down on her, she realized that even the strongest among them could be undone by the truth. How Victoria navigates these tumultuous waters will define the next chapter of her life, and, ultimately, her family's fate. In the world of the young and the restless, lies and betrayals often lie at the heart of the drama. Secrets, once kept for the sake of love or protection, have a way of coming to light in the most devastating of ways. This time, it's not just a family secret that will shake the core of its foundation. It's a devastating revelation that threatens to rip apart relationships, both personal and professional. As Cole's health continues to spiral downward, Claire uncovers a truth that will change everything for her, for Victoria, and for the Newman family. As the truth about Cole's identity comes crashing down, no one will be left unscathed. Can the bonds of love and loyalty survive such revelations? Or will this truth be too much for anyone to bear? The shocking truth about Claire's past: for as long as Claire could remember, Victoria and Cole had been the pillars of her life. They were the parents who loved and nurtured her, who made every decision with her best interests at heart. But deep down, Claire had always felt that something wasn't quite right. There had been little clues here and there, small inconsistencies that never quite added up. Yet, Claire had never allowed herself to question the family she'd always known. She had trusted them implicitly, believing every word they told her, convinced that she was safe in the arms of her parents. But when Claire stumbled upon a set of documents, a discovery that would send her into a tailspin, her world was shattered. It wasn't just that the records didn't match what she had been told, it was that the truth they revealed was far darker than anything she could have imagined. Victoria and Cole were not her biological parents. The revelation rocked her to her core. What had once been her perfect life, a life she thought was built on unconditional love and truth, was a lie. Claire had spent days pacing, struggling to make sense of what she had uncovered. How could they hide something so significant from her? She couldn't fathom why they would keep such a crucial secret, one that now seemed to define her existence. Her entire life felt like a carefully constructed lie, and the more she thought about it, the more she questioned everything. Who she was, who her real parents were, and why the people she loved most had betrayed her. When Claire finally confronted Victoria, the woman who had raised her as her own, her world truly began to crumble. The words Victoria spoke as she confessed the truth felt like a gut punch. "Claire, I didn't want you to find out this way," Victoria said, her voice shaking with emotion. "You are our daughter. We've loved you as our own, even if you're not ours by blood. That will never change." But for Claire, the betrayal was too great. "How could you do this to me? How could you lie to me for all these years?" she cried, feeling her heart shatter. The foundation of the mother-daughter bond they shared had been built on deceit, and no matter how much Victoria pleaded, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that she was nothing more than a pawn in a twisted game. Cole's deteriorating health. A growing crisis. As if the emotional turmoil from Claire's discovery wasn't enough, Victoria's life was about to be tested in another way. Cole, her husband, had been battling a mysterious illness for months, but recently, his condition had worsened. The doctors were puzzled, unable to pinpoint exactly what was happening to him. Each day seemed to bring new complications, and with each passing moment, Victoria's anxiety grew. The man she loved, the father of her children, was slowly slipping away, and she was powerless to stop it. Victoria could no longer ignore the sinking feeling in her gut that something was seriously wrong. The uncertainty and fear were overwhelming, but she had no choice but to wait for the test results that could either provide answers or deepen her despair. The weight of her family's secrets and Cole's illness was too much for her to bear. In the midst of all the chaos, Victoria found herself at a loss. She couldn't help but feel that everything was spiraling out of control. At one point, as Cole lay in bed, weakened by the illness that seemed to drain the life out of him, Victoria found herself questioning everything. Had she truly done everything she could for him? Had they spent enough time together, or had the relentless demands of their lives and the business distracted them from what really mattered? She sat by his side, holding his hand, and prayed for a miracle. But deep down, she feared the worst. "Cole, please, fight," she whispered to him, her voice barely audible. "We've been through so much together. I can't lose you now." But as the days passed, Cole's condition showed no sign of improving. Victoria's hope dwindled with every passing moment. She knew that her time with him was limited, and the possibility of losing him felt too much to bear. As she waited for answers from the doctors, she couldn't help but wonder if this was fate, or if it was somehow tied to the greater crisis in her life, the secret about Clare. Victor and Nikki's shock, an opportunity for control? The truth about Clare's parentage wasn't just a blow to Victoria and Cole, it also had a profound impact on Victor and Nikki. When they learned the truth, they were stunned. Victor, in particular, was shaken to his core. For years, Clare had been an important part of the Newman family. She was seen as one of their own, and the revelation that she wasn't actually their flesh and blood left them all reeling.